All right, it is 5:30. I will call this policy meeting to order. Ms. Shope, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Megan Miller is unable to join us. Greg Schneider,
Present.
Amy Levy.
Here.
All members are present then except Megan Miller. Thank you.
No, thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve our September 6th policy meeting minutes?
So moved.
I'll provide a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that motion passes unanimously. All right, so just to get everyone caught up, Board Member Miller will not be able to join us. So Board Member Schneider is going to keep an eye on her notes and make sure that we don't miss anything. So just unmute and yell. Dr. Garrison, I'm going to need your help too. If someone's at the mic or someone from the administrative team is trying to get in and I can't see them, please jump in and let me know that someone needs the floor.
And before you start, could we approve the agenda?
I thought we approved the agenda and then the minutes, but if we did not, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Shope.
Thank you.
Before we jump in, I just want to go through how we're going to group the policies tonight so that we can be efficient. It looks like it's a lot on the plate, but I promise it's doable. Everybody's going to be fine. We're going to look at A through D together because if you remember at our last meeting, we decided to roll those rules into the policies, so that'll be our first group. We'll look at E and F together, G and H together. I is standalone, J and K together, L and M together. N will just be an update, and then O through Q, R through T, U is standalone, and then we'll look at B and W because I think we may have a slight revision just to be consistent. All right. Any questions before we get started? All right. Hearing none, here we go. Board Member Schneider, policy 443.2, which now encompasses rules 1 through 3 of that policy. Any edits or questions?
I have nothing.
All right. I just have two things, and well, actually a couple things. They're very small. Ms. Shope, on that second page between 2C and 3, if we could get a space there, just to help the reader's eye a little bit. And then the same thing, if we could get that intentional space between 3C and 4, that would be helpful. And then just want to make sure that we're being consistent in our messaging. If we go to the last page, the start of the second paragraph says only the transportation manager, safety and security supervisor, principals, district administrators, and Board of Education in the event of expulsion shall be authorized to view the video for documenting a problem and determining which student may be involved. And then at the start of the next paragraph, we start talking about who can't see the videos. Do we need both, or does that first set of language take care of it? So if anyone who doesn't have it up, at the top of that next paragraph, it says, the video shall not be available for viewing by the public in general, employees in general, and then it goes on to list. Do we need that if we've already clearly stated who are the only people who can see it? Or is there a reason for that reiteration?
I think we should keep it only because we get this question a lot. Can we see the video? And if we're able to just direct them to the policy where it specifically says the video should not be available for viewing by the public, it just helps.
Okay.
It just helps for just direct statement versus.
Understood. Thank you. Yeah, for adding that context. So is there a motion to move policy 443.2, student conduct on school buses, to the full board with minor edits, and also to retire policy 443.2, rules 1 through 3.
So moved.
I will provide a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So that's going to bring us to policy 342. And the only reason that that is listed is because in case there is a change that will impact that. So we don't need to review 342 again unless we make a change that's going to impact it, but we needed it on the agenda for that reason. So we can actually move to 342.1. And a question before we get started. I know it says proposed title, but it wasn't clear to me if the administration wanted programs for students with special education needs / programs for students with disabilities as the title, or if the new proposed title is programs for students with disabilities.
It would be my recommendation that it's programs for students with disabilities.
Okay, no problem. All right, so policy 342.1, it's 2 pages and the second one is deleted, so we'll just look at the policy in its totality. Board Member Schneider, any questions or edits?
I have none, but Megan suggests that, she just said it looks good, seems that everything eliminated that was necessary is captured in the new language. So she's fine with it.
Thank you, and thank you so much for keeping up with those notes for me. I just had a couple questions. Excuse me. Okay, so in my mind, IEP means individualized education plan, and that like each student has an IEP who's eligible. But when I'm reading this, it says IEP, and then they also have IEP team. And for the explanation of IEP team, it's individualized education program. Is there a plan and a program, and both are called IEPs?
The state has started using program more recently, but it's used synonymously. I thought I tried to catch all the plan and change it to program because that, like I said, that's the language the state is starting to use.
Okay, and just so I understand it, because for me, a program is like a collection of people working together in a program, and a plan is like, that's my individual plan. But you're telling me that if I have an IEP, that's my individualized educational program, just for me.
Yep, and that's talking about the services that you're eligible to receive.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Just wanted to make sure I was understanding that.
Yep.
And then for the listing of special education disabilities, they're listed out there. Are any of those categories listed, structured for short-term use? For example, if a student is in an accident or is temporarily disabled, or is this for kind of extended condition?
Yep, so the first instance you related to, that would fall under a 504 plan. So these,
Okay.
what we've got listed here, and I did change the order, I just tried to put it in alphabetical order. It read and updated the language on those two, so that's why you'll see some that might be duplicated, just changed in order. But yeah, 504 plan would be a more short-term, student gets into a car accident and needs a short-term accommodation plan. This is more, you're found eligible, you actually have to be dismissed from, found eligible and then dismissed from. That make sense?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, let me look at my list. Okay, so is there a motion to move policy 342.1 with the revised title, Programs for Students with Disabilities, to the full board for first reading?
So moved.
Second, is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. That brings us to G and H before we will entertain any motions. So 342.2, homebound instruction. Is anyone opposed before we look at it to continuing with what we had going in our September meeting with adding the information from policy 342.2 rule 1 to policy 342.2 and then retiring the rule?
I'm okay with
Any
that.
objection?
I don't have a problem with that either.
Okay. Okay. Board Member Schneider, any questions? We'll just look at, and we know they're going to be combined, but what is currently policy 342.2, homebound instruction? Any questions or edits?
I have none, but Megan is questioning whether we should eliminate physical or emotional and leave it as health to be inclusive or include psychological in language. So whether to either eliminate physical or emotional and leave it as health to be inclusive or include psychological in the language.
Okay, Board Member Schneider, do you have a preference?
I have no preference.
Okay. I would lean towards itemizing the three categories in case someone isn't thinking about psychological health when they see health. Some people may be prone to just think physical health. So I like physical, emotional, and psychological health. Are there any objections from the administration, or do you have a different option?
That's fine.
Okay.
The only question about this policy, and I should have asked Missy beforehand, a timeline for when homebound instruction can be administered. Should that be added to this homebound instruction policy?
I think you'll find that in the rule once we get there.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Nope, you're good.
Dr. Garrison, we're on the same page. One of my questions is what constitutes an extended period of time? And since the administration, and I know this comes later, is recommending that we retire 342.71 Rule 2, which addresses maternity and home study leave, I want to make sure that that minimum for extended is at least 10 days. Because the way that policy currently reads, if a student has has vaginal birth with no complications, 10 days are listed. If it's a cesarean birth without complication, it lists 15 days. And I just want to make sure that they aren't losing days because we're folding in the policies and losing some of the specificity. But Ms. Beavers, are you saying that's addressed in Rule 1?
The length of time, yes, is addressed. It might not be identical to what you just read in the maternity leave, but we can, when we get there is time constraints on that. We could put them side by side and take a look at that.
So, Board Member Schneider, are you okay with moving to Rule 1?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or edits?
No.
Okay. One, since we're combining those, I would recommend that we omit that first sentence. I think it's already covered in the language currently in 342.2 with the intro there that's been added in green. So if we just jump right into eligibility criteria, and then if I'm looking at A2, it says the anticipated absence is continuous for 20 consecutive calendar days or more. So that would preclude the 10-day and 15-day minimums. So are we saying that if a student, which I'm not opposed to, if a student gives birth, they get a minimum of 20 days?
Can you just repeat that? I just need to hear it again.
Yeah, no problem. And I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but they're connected.
Nope,
Excuse me.
yep.
So later in policy 342.71 Rule 2,
Yep.
which addresses maternity and homestay, the administration is recommending that we retire that and just use the homebound instruction policy. Now, in that policy that I just referenced with maternity leave, it says a 10-day period and then a 15-day period. But this homebound instruction looks like it's a minimum of 20 consecutive days. And I'm not opposed to giving kids who just gave birth more time off, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that is a change to the policy.
That is in the way when I was reviewing these, the maternity and home study to me is different than homebound. When somebody finally goes homebound, you are actually assigned a homebound instructor. So home study could potentially be sending work home, getting onto a Google Meet, something like that. So in my mind, I see a difference to that. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me jump to that
Yep.
policy really
Yep.
quick. I was just looking at my note for it.
Can I just add something?
Okay, so the note said administration recommends retiring this policy. Any medical leave that might require a student to be out for an extended amount of time would be in adherence with the attendance and or homebound practices.
Yep, and so once they go beyond, okay, the 10 to 15 would fall under attendance because you would have an excusal from the doctor. So those would be considered excused absences. So that's why it would fall under the attendance policy. And then when you get further, if you need further time off, the hope would be that the 20 consecutive days, you bump to homebound instruction then. Does that make sense?
But this says it's covered under homebound. So if I was reading that, I think I go straight to the homebound policy because that is now replacing the policy that the administration later in our list is going to ask us to retire. I wouldn't naturally think that there is a bridge unless there's explicit language that first you use your medical excused days of this amount, and then if you need additional time, then you transfer to homebound, since the note is that policy would be replaced by the homebound policy.
It actually says our attendance or homebound or homebound policies. And whatever you guys recommend. I could not find another maternity leave policy anywhere in board docs, anywhere in the state. I couldn't find another one to cross-reference, which is why I leaned on attendance and homebound policies.
So I guess my question, Ms. Levy, is your recommendation? Can you be specific about what your recommendation is right now, so I can be clear what you're asking?
Okay, so I don't have a specific recommendation, but I would like for us to pick between two options. And the two options, from what it seems to me that the admin recommendation is we use attendance or homebound.
Yes.
Yes, because
I don't know how to both of them. So for attendance, then we just need to spell out what that is or link it, because I wouldn't know off the top of my head what that policy is. But homebound is listed there, and that has a minimum of 20 days. But Ms. Beavers, if I'm understanding it correctly, is the attendance policy either the 10 days or the 15 days, depending on the procedure, and those are medically excused?
Correct.
So do you want us to put something like that in the policy now, so it can just be clear that attendance policy is refer back to policy blank, and then homebound is this? Is that what you're trying to?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Maybe we can add, because the next section, section B, is school-age parent in the rule that we're looking at right now.
Right.
So,
where we want to add
So right
that?
now, the one we're on is homebound instruction guidelines,
Right.
which is currently 342.2 Rule 1, which is going to fold in. Rule 1 will be retired, and it'll just be 342.2.
Correct.
So I'm fine either way. Do you want to add the note here in homebound, or do you want to hold it, put a pin in it, and we'll deal with it when we get to our safe harbor policy?
I think it would make the most sense if we want to add it here, to add it under letter B in 342.2, currently Rule 1.
Okay.
Do you see where there's a school-age parent? So if we can work it, maybe we should, are we done with A?
So let's
and-
deal with,
Okay.
if someone could think about how they want that wording to be, because I have a couple questions with B. So the first is a school-age parent should be encouraged to remain in an appropriate school program for as long as it is medically appropriate for them to do so. I think we have to keep in mind that some of our school-age parents are boys, and so they wouldn't have a medical concern due to pregnancy where it's no longer safe for them, you get my point, for them to be there medically. So I think what may be a better fit is a school-age parent should be encouraged to remain in or transfer to the most appropriate school program to support the best educational, social, and emotional outcome for the student and child. And then and I can repeat any of that, Ms. Shope, don't worry about that. We can come back to it. I just want to kind of give you a sketch of what I'm thinking for B. And then for 3 of B, it says the student may return to school in the opinion of the physician. Hold on. The student may return to school in the opinion of the physician. It is safe for them to do so. Is safety the only thing that we're considering, or are we also considering like time to bond with your child? Is that a reasonable reason to be out of school?
The physician, you know, when they're making the recommendation for a kid to return to school, that is part of their health check. And if this kid still needs more time, they're going to say to us, they need more time. And so does it need to be specifically written in the policy? Personally, I don't think so. But the physician is checking that before they give us permission for him or her to return to school.
And we know that it's like it's physically safe for me to be at school. They're taking into account like bonding with your child and other things other than just safety.
Sure. So there's a questionnaire that, well, I don't have a questionnaire in front of me. There's questionnaires that physicians have to go through when clearing a kid and questions they have to ask. And those questions will come up to determine whether or not it's safe for the kid to come back to school. And also the student may just say, I need more time. And that could also extend the student's time. I don't know how we write that in the policy though. Sorry.
Yeah. And I think it may be best as we're having this discussion, Ms. Shope, could we just put that on like our reminders list? Because that just may need to be something that's reiterated with the Safe Park coordinator so that because she's typically the liaison between the student and the district while they're off, along with their teachers as well, but just making sure that she's being that advocate for students saying, you know, if you feel like you need more time, this is something you can have a conversation with your physician with, and then we can kind of work that out in partnership with the school. So if we could just put that on our to-do list, and then we can keep it out of policy.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Beavers, I'm coming back to you for help. I think 3 would be the perfect place to add that students have the option to follow the attendance rule, which is 10 to 15 days off due to dependent on the procedure, or the homebound criteria, which is a minimum of 20 consecutive days. But if someone can make it sound more fluid than that, are we in agreement that that's where it belongs?
I mean, if that's where administration believes it should be. And we can clean up the language of it as well to just pretty much reflect our attendance policy, really.
You know, prior to, you know, if the absence is less than 20 days, the school district-employed attendance policy will be followed.
Perfect.
We can word it that way. We can easily word it that way.
Can we go ahead and do that right now? So, Ms. Shope, if after number 3 we can have absences less than 20 days, we'll follow the district's attendance policy. Absences greater than 20 days will follow the district's homebound instruction policy. Is that acceptable?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. So we have that edit. If we could go back up to 1, and I say this from experience, I know that, and we get into this area where our students, and we'll talk about at-risk students and the policy, if you meet more than 2 of those criteria, I have seen students strongly encouraged to have alternate placements that may not be the preference of that student or that parent. So I'm really sensitive about the language in number 1, so I just want to be transparent about that. And again, my recommendation, because right now I think it's written just for moms, but we do have dads that are SAPAR students as well. So let me just read through my recommendation and then please offer feedback. So for number B1, a school-age parent should be encouraged to remain in or transfer to the most appropriate school program for them. And then program modifications should be made to support the best educational, social, and emotional outcome for the student and child. Are there any objections to that, or you feel like it needs to be worded differently? There's something else that needs to be captured? And then we can continue with the student shall be referred to the school-age parent. I don't have any issues with that.
I guess my only, maybe pushback a little bit would be that this is homebound instruction guidelines, and there is a separate policy for school-age parent programs. So I'm wondering, I understand what you're saying with the language, I just feel like I need to say that out loud, because I don't know if that,
No, that's fine, but we have school-age parent as one of the headers in the homebound program. So
school-age
you said
parent
that wouldn't
specific to
appropriate
homebound
place for it?
instruction. Sorry.
Wait a second. So, Missy, say that part again?
I said school-age parents specific to homebound instruction, not what programs are available or where they should go. That's where I'm struggling.
I'm not saying I don't agree with your position, I don't understand it yet. So we are talking about school-age parents under the umbrella of homebound instruction. So we're looking at B1. And what I'm saying is that I think just because a student is pregnant or parenting, the focus should be on the placement that is best for them, not necessarily where we as a district want them to be. And I've seen that happen. So let me reread it again, and then Ms. Beavers, let me know where that pushback is. So a school-age parent should be encouraged to remain in or transfer to the most appropriate school program for them. Program modifications should be made to support the best educational, social, and emotional outcomes for the student and child. What is it that needs to be changed in that?
So I think what you're saying is fine, as long as it doesn't interfere with what is going to be coming up next. So my question to you, Missy, is, does it interfere with what's coming up next?
I think it's kind of repetitive of what's coming.
Okay, so then I'm fine.
When you say what's coming, what specifically are you referring to?
The 342.71 school-age parent program policy.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, are we okay with this language? Because what we might find is I don't want to prejudge it before we get to it.
Yeah,
Let's put a pin in
I think
this.
we're fine. I think I'm fine with what you just stated. Based off of what Missy just stated, is not going to interfere with the next policy. It's pretty much going to reiterate it. So
Okay.
we're going to be saying it
with
twice. That's all.
reiteration.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we're just going to be
And I
saying it
think-
twice. That's all.
Okay, because someone may be looking at the SAPAR policy and not looking at homebound.
Correct.
So I think as much as I'm not a fan of repetition, I think sometimes in policy it's good to say the same thing in multiple places. But Ms. Beavers, I just want to make sure, is it the repetition that you're concerned with, or is there something that's contradictory? Because if it's contradictory, I want to make sure that we're sending a consistent message through the policy set.
I don't think it's contradictory. I guess I don't know that it's speaking to homebound instruction. I think it's.
But it's speaking to homebound instruction for SAPAR students, not all of homebound, and that's why it's under Section B. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Ms. Shope, do you need me to repeat that?
Just the second sentence that starts
Okay.
with the program modifications.
Program modifications. Program modifications should be made to support the best educational, social, and emotional outcomes for the student and child.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, let me check my list. So we have just reviewed G and H. Is there a motion to move policy 342.2, homebound instruction, to the full board for a first reading and to retire policy 342.2, rule 1?
So moved.
Second, is there any further discussion? All right, thank you. That's going to move us to policy 342.3, the Advanced Learners Program. Okay, Board Member Schneider, any questions or concerns on this policy?
I do not have any, but Megan was wondering if we should change to FAPE to match previous policy and state statute language in the first sentence. Beginning of the second sentence, eliminate comma after K-12 are the two things that she had.
I don't play with Megan and commas. If Megan wants the comma removed, that is fine with me. My only question for this policy, oh, hold on, I'm on the wrong policy.
Can you give me one? Can you hold on
okay.
for 1 second, Ms. Levy?
Yep.
So the first part of Megan's question was about
Whether we
removing
should
FAPE.
change to FAPE. I'm assuming she's meaning in the, and I'm guessing here, in the first sentence, providing an appropriate education to all students, instead of saying free and appropriate public education.
I think we should leave it like it is, Kirsten. I mean, that's what we all, that's what we're here. to do that. So I think we should leave it personally. Correct.
Are you opposed to free and appropriate, Dr. Garrison?
No, I'm saying I think we should leave it like we have it right now. Everything we do is
Providing appropriate education?
correct. Everything we do is about free and appropriate education. So whether it's in this policy or in others, everything could start that way. I don't know. I think it should stay like this personally. Ms. Mortek, what you
Okay.
think?
I honestly don't have a preference, Dr. Garrison, so I agree with you. I mean, to us, it's implied that that is what we do because we're bound by law to offer FAPE. So I guess for me, it's a given, but I wouldn't oppose it either.
Correct. So if you want free in there, we can.
Yeah.
put free in there.
Yeah, I would actually prefer that we do free and appropriate,
Okay.
because everyone isn't free and appropriate. And I think we should, any chance we have to remind people of that. Like, however you come to our district, we're going to provide you a free and appropriate public education. Board Member Schneider, do you have a position?
I do not.
That's fine.
Like I said, I think it's implied because that's what the requirement of the school district is to do that, but it doesn't hurt to put it in.
Okay. All right, then we'll go with it. My only question is that third line, well, let me just start so it'll make sense. It says, we recognize the importance of providing appropriate education for students who are identified as gifted and talented in accordance with board policy. Which policy are we referring to? Because I didn't see a policy cross-referenced at the bottom.
That's a great point. I think it's redundant and it could be removed.
Okay. So if we just say in accordance with Wisconsin state law, and then those laws are referenced at the bottom. And then it goes on to say, therefore, the school district of Beloit will use a comprehensive identification process matched with systematic and continuous programming to meet the learning needs of our advanced students. I think all of that is fine. As a side note, kind of on our to-do list, Ms. Shope, and the administration team, feel free to jump in. How are we, one, outlining what the identification process is for our advanced learners? because I think that's something we should be really transparent about. This is how our students are identified. And then having that information would probably answer my next question. But can parents or guardians, are they able to recommend or kind of say, hey, can you look at my child for this, but definitely follow whatever the identification process is. But if it's not evident, especially I think with some of them are like creativity or et cetera, it is possible that educators may not catch or see or highlight. And definitely, we're not saying rewrite the process, but one, how is the process shared? And then two, what role do parents or guardians, if any, have in that identification process?
So you're right, there's more than one gifted and talented program. Do we address that at all, Ms. Mortek?
And it doesn't have to be in policy.
Yeah, actually, you know what we should do is bring it to the TLE committee, and we could give you an update, because there's been work in the last couple years with DPI, and we actually did a full audit and study of our advanced learning program and have expanded our processes in understanding that our students meet in many different ways meet advanced learning opportunities. And so I know the team, they're very passionate about advanced learning opportunities. And so if you're okay with that, and I know Megan's not here as the chair for the TLE committee, but we can certainly put that on an update, because it's something that they would love to come and talk about.
I think that's amazing. And then, Dr. Garrison, this is just a suggestion. You do with it as you will. But like when we're putting out news about the district, like have that clip, because I'm sure they're going to do an amazing job presenting. Isolate that clip and then share that out. So like, social media or newsletter, et cetera, so families can know, okay, this is how advanced learners work. Because that's something as a parent, I would be interested in.
Awesome. Okay, well, I will work on that with the team. And then in our website, we do have, when you go to the teaching and learning part of our website, there's another link to the advanced learning team, so that there is a little summary there. But love an opportunity to come back with that team and the committee to share that out.
Perfect.
Well, so
All right.
my
So
question,
it seems like we
I'm
just.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Garrison.
So where is that in the policy, though?
It just says in the policy in the second paragraph that we use a holistic process to identify. So we have done specific work on that in the last couple of years. In more so because we were looking at to diversify and have proportionate representation across demographic groups in our advanced learning program. And so through that audit, we were able to look at the way in which we were doing that process and modify it with the idea in mind of how we would diversify opportunities for all students. And so that's, I think, Board Member Levy, is what you're referring to, is in that second paragraph, the process and how we can highlight that more as a
Right.
district.
But it needs to be
Absolutely,
in the
because
policy.
it says. Oh, go ahead.
I'm saying it needs to be in the policy, the process.
Oh, I'm open to that. I'm not opposed to it. I would steer away from that, because what if, like you said, this audit happened. If the process changes, then we need to come back and update the policy. So I think comprehensive, we use a comprehensive identification process. I think that's fine. But somewhere outside of policy, I just think it's really important to push that out and let people know how they can find it, what it is. Dr. Garrison, do you feel differently? You want that included in the policy?
Why would we not have it in the policy? That's my question to the team right now.
So where it says that we use those things that are in there, those are things that we still use. So it really is it's not limited to assessment data, observations, parent-teacher inventories, all of those things we're still using. But within those pieces, we modified the way in which we did it based off of the audit.
Okay. So then I'll defer to my team. That's fine. As long as we're able to.
Okay.
As long as we're able to be specific about what it takes to get in.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the only thing we're changing in this policy is instead of we're going to remove board policy. So in accordance with Wisconsin state law, and then those laws are cross-referenced at the bottom. All right, so is there a motion? Let me move to my next screen.
So moved.
Let me get it out. Is there a motion to approve policy 342.3, advanced learners, to the full board for first reading?
So moved.
All right, second, any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that motion passes unanimously. All right, we will look at J and K together before we entertain a motion. And my question with J, is anyone opposed to follow what we've been doing and include the information currently in policy 342.4 Rule 1 with policy 342.4?
No objections.
All right, perfect. So we'll look at them separately just because they reside in two separate documents, but we will move forward with policy 342.4 and then retire Rule 1. Looking at what's currently in policy 342.4, Board Member Schneider, any edits or questions?
I have none. And Megan says
Right.
it looks good.
There we go. All right, my only question is that the first line that's added, for those students identified as at risk, the Board of Education shall establish supportive programs. Is that what the board is doing, or is that what the district is doing, like the admin team? Because I guess it depends on how we look at it. If we can approve it, but really establishing those supportive programs, that feels to me like the day-to-day operations of school once students have been identified. Does the administration team see that differently?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
We can change that.
Okay. Is there language that you would prefer?
Or since identified at risk, the school administration or district administration shall establish supportive programs. I think district administration
Okay.
sounds better.
Perfect.
I'm not
All
sure
right.
why
Board
was
Member
that
Schneider,
there.
any objections to that?
I just need clarification as to where we're at and what we're doing.
The
So
first
Okay, no
sentence.
problem. What is currently policy 342.4, that first sentence in green, for those students identified as at risk, the district administration shall establish supportive programs.
Thank you.
And then everything else will be staying the same. All right, so that brings us to what is currently 342.4 Rule 1. Board Member Schneider, any questions or edits for what is currently in that policy?
I have none. Megan's comments was can we combine it with 342.4?
That's what we're gonna do. I just have a question. So so what is currently 342.4 Rule 1 at the bottom of that first page, I guess it doesn't have a header anymore because identification is crossed out, but it says the superintendent or designee shall identify the children at risk who are enrolled in the school district and shall report the incident statistics to the DPI annually by August 15th. I am certain that happened. Are there any plans to give an update to the full board? Because I think that would be a really great agenda item, or in the superintendent's update, just to make sure like we have and it doesn't have to go into the weeds, but just give the outlines of what our plan is as a district for our students that have been identified as at risk. And maybe that goes to governance, so don't make it go through the proper channels. But have there been any discussions to present that to the board so the community can hear that?
So, full disclosure, this is my first time looking at it and seeing it that way. When we was reviewing the policies, of course, it was after August 15th. I think it should definitely come back in committee first, because people services and teaching and learning have a separate space for that. And so we can provide that report there. And then if the committee wants to move it to the full board for an additional conversation, I think it's important that we do it there.
Perfect. Ms. Shope, could we put that on our to-do list so we don't forget? And again, I mean, we can't make other committees do things, but just a nice recommendation that we would love to see that in committee and then hopefully at the full board. Thank you, Ms. Shope. I didn't have any other edits. So is there a motion to approve policy 342.4, programs for children at risk, to move on to the full board for first reading and retire policy 342.4 rule 1?
So moved.
All right. Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. So that brings us, we'll look at L and M together. So that brings us to policy 342.5. Okay, so let me pull up my note before I get lost. Oh, I missed one. Hold on. Question. So what is the recommended title for policy 342.5? Is it Title I parent involvement, or is it Title I parent involvement / the ESSA and the ESBA? I just wasn't clear what the admin was recommending.
Yes, so the recommendation is to take out Title I Parent Family Involvement Engagement and to change it to Title I Part A, ESSA and SEA, because that's really what is the updated language.
Okay. Ms. Shope, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. All right. And then same question. Is anyone opposed to adding the information in what's currently policy 342.5 rule 1 to policy 342.5 with the updated title? Is anyone opposed to merging those? I'm going to take the silence as a we're okay with that. All right. So we're looking at 342.5 with the new title. Board Member Schneider, any questions or edits?
I have nothing. Megan was asking why the bulleted items were removed.
Sure. So this was a little bit of a beast, and the reason why is because this was written under No Child Leave Behind, which we know hasn't been around since 2014. So what I did was look at the legislation of ESSA, which was under Obama in 2015. And then what happened was it was also the reinstatement of the 65 law. So when you go online, really, we do titles 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is a federal legislation grant that's moved through the states. And so what I tried to do was just capture umbrella, what is it, and that's what the green is on this. And then for those bulleted items, I revised those and moved those to the rule, because it's really then family, which they call it parent involvement, is now really family engagement. So that's why there's the change in the language there. And that's one piece of Title I. And when we went to the DPI website to cross-reference it, there is a recommendation to have a policy that parcels that out and pulls it out. So I cross-referenced the recommended other policies that people have created through the DPI website and then grabbed those things and moved them over. You'll see some of the bullets are also redundant, like that annual meeting that we have. You know, that's been common in title schools for a long time. So that's where this information has been kind of cross-referenced and moved around and revised.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Just one quick question. That first, so I'm on 342.5. in order to meet its goal of providing appropriate educational opportunities for all students in the school district of Beloit, the board shall participate in federal Title I. Isn't it beyond just the board and it's the district?
So title is
Oh, your mic's off, Dr. Garrison.
Go ahead, Mrs. I'm sorry, Mrs. Mortek.
It is the school district of Beloit. It's the LEA. So I think that's what you're going to say, Dr. Garrison. So the board is accepting, but it's the school district of Beloit is receiving those funds. So as a school board, we're saying we accept the fact that when the state offers us this grant funding, we will acknowledge it just like we do other grants.
Okay, got it. And then every Student Succeeds Act is spelled out, but then for ESEA, Elementary and Secondary Education Act, it's not spelled out. So since we're going to use both acronyms, could we spell both of those out first and then put the acronym, Ms. Shope? And
Yes.
then in the second green paragraph, the third line down, it talks about grade span. Is that a thing that I'm just not aware of, or should that be grade span?
So the way that you do the algorithm when they send the federal funds, it's the grade span, and it's the way that they define that, and that's DPI's language. So the way in which title allocations happen is you have some different options, and then that is, again, that's their language, is the grade span. So we wanted to make sure that we were matching the language, that's used in the federal funds and then through the state and then the district.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then my question, since we're merging that rule with the main policy, where the header, so now Ms. Shope, I'm on 342.5 Rule 1. Since the No Child Left Behind header is being removed, do you want to use the current title for 342.5 Rule 1 as the header, since that's going to be shifted to the policy? Does that make sense?
Yes, we should do that. It aligns with the title pretty much.
Okay. So, and correct me if I get this wrong, but Ms. Shope, instead of where No Child Left Behind is already crossed out, we would change that to be Title I, Part A, District Parent and Family Engagement as that header.
Correct.
And then everything under that would just shift up to the policy.
Thank you.
Got it.
All right. So that concludes L and M. Is there a motion to approve policy 342.5, Title I, or no, with the new title, to the full board for first reading and to retire policy 342.5, Rule 1?
So moved.
Second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. That brings us to N. Dr. Garrison, could you just give us a policy update on 342.6?
So I actually don't have an update on this policy. Was I missing something on my?
We'll just kind of explain what you found out.
Just what on the notes that we shared? Mm-hmm. Okay, give me a second. I can go back and read it.
Yeah, and it's basically I'm sure lots of people are listening to this at home because policy is so exciting,
Sure.
but they may not have board docs pulled up.
That's fine. I thought I was missing something. I was like, well, I don't have anything extra besides what I shared.
Nope, you're good.
Sure. Give me a second. I have to reload my.
Yep.
I was reading off the paper today. Do you have it pulled up? I do. Okay. Do you mind just reading? Otherwise, I have to reload it. I'll sign it.
So 342.6, no policy exists with this number and hasn't for a number of years, if ever.
All right. So, my question is anyone opposed adding the information that's currently in policy 342.61, rule 1, to the current policy that's labeled 342.61, but then we rename it or reallocate number 342.6. So 1, does that make sense?
So that was, yeah,
Two.
oops, sorry.
Is anyone opposed?
That was the administration's recommendation. I just didn't get to that sentence yet, so.
Correct.
You guys are on the same page?
Oh,
We're all on the same page.
all right.
That's
So,
I have it now in front of me, sorry.
okay, no problem. All right, so board member Schneider, we will start with 342, well, what's currently 342.61. It's a short policy. Any questions or edits?
I have no questions or edits, and Megan states it looks good. She loves the changes.
Okay, perfect. So now, same question for 342, what's currently 342.61, Rule 1.
The only question I had is in the fourth paragraph that starts with at least one school staff member should be designated as the coordinator for school-age parents and to receive referrals for the school-age parent program. Employees of the school district are required to refer any student if they have reasonable cause to believe that the
Oh,
student.
we're not, I'm sorry, Greg.
We're not there yet.
there yet. We're still
Okay.
on 342.61.
Oh, sorry. I flipped the
No, but
page
that's
too quick.
coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, nothing.
And I have a similar note.
Yeah. Yep, I have nothing.
Okay. All right. So let me jump to
Motion.
my other screen. Is there a motion to rename what is currently policy 342.61 to policy 342.6 and move that forward for a first reading of the full board, and to retire what is currently listed as policy 342.61, Rule 1?
So moved.
All right, and I'm sorry, there's also, hold on, I missed one. 342.7, the administration is recommending that this be retired because it's already been absorbed in other policies. So because we don't have a second yet, can we add on also the retiring of policy 342.7?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Shope, do you need me to repeat that?
No, I think I followed it. We're combining the rules, renumbering, and then retiring all three of these because they'll all be the first two will be 342.6.
Yep, perfect. All right. I will provide a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. All right, look at us. We are now looking at policies R, S, and T, and it is only 6:28. All right. Policy 342.71, school age parents. Board members, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so just a couple of things to note. What we are looking at now are R, S, and T. So that includes 342.71, school age parent program. Dr. Garrison, the update that the administration has is that 342.71 Rule 1 was deleted in 2013. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, quick question. How do we know it was deleted in 2013? And is there a record? And can we go back and retire it? Or does delete it mean it's gone?
I won't say retired. It's not there anymore, according to Mrs. Shope. Mrs. Shope, you can
So we
add.
can't retire it.
So I have what's called
I
the
can't find it, yeah.
master policy log, and it's just a log of what happened to different policies.
Correct.
Like all the way back to 2009, I think. But, so it just says that that policy was deleted and has the title of the policy. And so I
But
know
not the actual
when it was deleted, but I don't have the actual policy.
Yeah, we don't have
Okay.
anything.
No, they were just
Okay.
deleted back then.
And I think in this case we'll be okay because That one was deleted, and the admin is recommending that we retire 342.71 Rule 2. So if we just focus on 342.71, I think we're in good shape. All right, Board Member Schneider, just looking at 342.71, any edits or questions?
In the fourth paragraph, second sentence.
Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on.
Sorry, the fourth paragraph, the second sentence. Employees of the school district are required to refer any student if they have reasonable cause to believe the student is a school-age parent. Permission for the referral must be obtained from the student or a minor student's parent or guardian. Well, how can we mandate that they have to refer, it's required to refer, and then say, well, wait a minute, but you got to get permission first? So
I think
it's
we
just-
can remedy that by changing require to encourage.
Okay.
Are you okay with that? I have it underlined for the same reason, so I get it.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so we will change require to encourage because permission, and when I was in the role, I would have to let people know, hey, we gotta press pause on this. People would come to me if they suspected someone was expecting, and I'm like, I'm not just randomly walking up to a student and having that anyway. The thing that I just want to make sure that we are saying the thing that we want to say. In the second paragraph, it says a school-age parent means any person under the age of 21 who is not a high school graduate and is a parent, an expectant parent, or person who has been pregnant within the immediately preceding 120 days. So realistically, what that means is that we will provide services for anyone who had a miscarriage within the last 4 months. Is that what we want to say, or is there interest in extending that? And I think in the program, I can't speak to it now, but what the practice was is, first of all, the Safe Harbor program is completely voluntary. We can't mandate a student to participate, but if a student was in the program and miscarried and wanted to continue to receive services, I didn't kick a student out. I would at least continue through that year, and then maybe informal check-ins if they still needed support. So the way this is written now, students would only be able to access services, which are voluntary, for 4 months, for 4 months from the time they miscarried. Is that what we want to say, or do we want to say something different?
I guess my question is the 120 standard, or my first mind went to why is it 4 versus 6, or why is it 6 versus 9, or I don't know what the 120
No
is for.
idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
I literally referenced other policies and statutes,
Okay,
so
then we'll
I would
leave
be
it.
willing to be open to. The one thing I would include in there is, do we want to add, a school-age parent means any person under the age of 21 who is not high school, within the school district of Beloit? Do we need to add that somewhere? Okay,
We definitely do.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the
Whoa,
120
hold on.
days, whatever.
Hold on.
We should add that
No,
where.
I thought you said something else and was responding to that. Could you repeat that, please?
So we were saying that this statement is true, but we should add in the school district of Beloit. But I think the first sentence says the school district of Beloit shall. Does that include everything below it?
Well, I hadn't thought about this, so thank you for bringing it up, Ms. Beavers. But the school district of Beloit shall make available. Now, this says any student that's under the age of 21 and not a high school grad. So if I went to Beloit Turner, if I went to any other school, by the way this policy currently reads, I think it would be possible for them to at least request services.
So we're
And then
opening.
do we need to do this for our membership in the district or our students that we serve in the district? And can we make that distinction?
I would want to keep it to the school district of Beloit, unless we got some type of.
Legally,
Yeah, I would want to keep it to the school district of Beloit. Mrs. Beavers, to your point, this is very open-ended now that I'm reading it some more as well. And so we just need to be very specific about this now, because I'm okay with the 120 days if that's what you saw. I know I'm jumping around, but the 120, that's where I'm stuck at right now. I'm fine with the 120
Okay,
days.
let's deal with that.
Yeah.
I would always lean towards, if a student has had a miscarriage, in most cases that's a traumatic experience, and I would lean to providing service for a longer period of time than a shorter period of time. So if that, for a school year after, because let's say this happens in May, I wouldn't say, well, June, into the school year, good luck. So I would be in favor of extending that. Does the administration have a recommendation for how long students can access services?
Would you say maybe, Greg, help me, how is it worded when a student with a disability turns 21? They can have services until that year ends in which this incident happened. I know that's not the language we want to use, but do you see what I'm saying? So if it happens in February, they finish the program in June. Does that make sense?
But then what if it happens in May?
Yeah.
But there's there's limited program, yeah.
Yeah.
How
I'm
until
fine
the
with
end
extending
of that
days. I mean,
current
this is
school
like you
year
said,
or
I'm fine with extending
calendar
days.
year, whichever is longer.
Hold up. I'm sorry. We're both talking. My apologies. Can you repeat yourself?
So I'm just thinking and the State Park program is truly year round. Like I would still check in with kids over the summers, so that we want to word it so a person who has been pregnant within the okay, we'll come back to that. But the message I want to get out, you can access services until the end of the school year, until the end of the current school year or current calendar year, whichever is longer.
I like that.
I agree.
So if we put expectant parent or person who was recent, okay, to.
Wait, slow down. I'm sorry, because I'm trying to write this out too.
Right, okay, we're going to start at the beginning of the sentence.
Yeah.
Start at the beginning. A school-age parent means any person under the age of 21 who is not a high school graduate and is a parent, period.
Period.
Students who were recently pregnant, and then I'm going to add another layer to it, so just heads up. Students who were recently pregnant may access services until the end of the current school year or calendar year, whichever is longer. Now, that would be for the female student who is no longer pregnant, but we have dads that are in the program when their partner is expecting. So I think we should do the language to include both parents.
So can I just add
How we would word that.
Yep, up above, though, it says, "The school district shall make available to any school-age parent, mother or father." So that's the definition. So a school-age parent, maybe, and that same sentence, or that paragraph you were working on, a school-age parent, parentheses, mother or father, means any person, or somewhere in there, mother or father again.
But in this, there's that delicate situation of if you're no longer pregnant, are you considered a school-age parent?
Well,
I would
I
think.
think every situation has a opportunity for us to make sure that we're working with the student. And so that is a delicate situation, because I want to be open and humble and work with the family when this stuff is happening. So
could we put
I don't know.
students who are no longer pregnant, students who were pregnant or have a partner who was pregnant may access services for the current school year or calendar year, whichever is longer. Because then that extends services for both partners.
I agree. Now, Michelle, we have to go back and look at the recording on that part. Because I didn't.
I think I can repeat it if I do it right now. All right. So a school-age parent means any person under the age of 21 who is not a high school graduate and attending the school district of Beloit. Do we want to specify that and get that cleared up?
Yep.
Okay. Now my only question, and I know that membership is different than students that are registered. Do we need to extend this to school district of Beloit membership?
No.
Okay. So here we go, Ms. Shope. A school-age parent means any person under the age of 21 who is not a high school graduate and is a parent attending the school district of Beloit, period. Anyone who was pregnant or had a partner who was pregnant may access services until the end of the current school year or calendar year, whichever is longer. Are we good? Yes. All right.
Yes.
But that
We
wording,
handle both issues.
that wording leaves out the expectant parent. It says, is a parent, or is a parent who is no longer pregnant. But so we have those who are expectant.
It's not
So in that first sentence that we ended, is a parent,
We got to add expectant parent.
right, so it
Or
could be,
is a parent or
and is a
expectant.
parent or expecting parent and as attending the school district of Beloit. Just add that couple words into that sentence.
See, that's,
What Greg just said, please.
What was you saying, Lincoln?
I feel like if you add enrolled in the school, I mean, you're going to have people who are not enrolled but live in the school district of Beloit who want to enroll. So if somebody moves.
And they got to.
Sorry.
Dr. Garrison, your mic's off.
Sorry about that. So they have to enroll in our school district. So living in our school district and becoming pregnant, we need you in our district in order for us to provide these services. So I just want to make sure me and you on the same page. So are you saying we should add the word enrolled? I'm sorry.
I think that's what was being, do you want to just, I think that's what was being added. And
Okay.
so you're going to have,
Yeah, attending a school district of Beloit, attending or enrolled in the school district of Beloit.
and they may not
That's what we
currently,
wanted.
my point is, they may not currently be attending. Let's pretend it's a Beloit, lives in Beloit, dropped out, or,
Yeah.
whatever, dropped out, wants to enroll. Yeah.
So
Can
are
you-
we okay?
Can you read what you have?
So, so the very first sentence of the policy says, "The school district of Beloit shall make available to any school-age parent, mother or father, who is a resident of the school district, program modifications and services that will enable the pupil to continue their education until the student graduates or turns 21. A school-age parent means any person under the age of 21 who is not a high school graduate and is a parent or an expectant parent attending the school district of Beloit," which is duplicating what's in the first sentence.
It's not duplicating.
Well, I know it's not included in the first sentence or the at the top because that says
That
who is
says
a resident of the school district of Beloit.
Okay, so then they're conflicting.
Right.
Correct.
Like-
I just don't think
So we
we should
just
say
need to
is
adjust the
attending.
opener.
I don't think we should say that.
So our recommendation is that we shouldn't say is attending. So,
Or we change the first sentence that says, who is a resident of the school district, to who is enrolled in the school district.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about enrollment, not membership. And the first
Yeah.
sentence is including membership.
so what's your statement?
If they're a resident of Beloit, they will enroll in Beloit. That's not membership. Membership is enrolled out somewhere.
Correct.
That they
So,
reside in Beloit, but they're enrolled out. So we're making available to anybody who lives within our boundaries this program. That's what that's saying.
No, anyone who's enrolled.
I think that's what we're arguing right now, or not arguing.
I think we're all saying the same thing, but differently at this point. I think our best bet is to make sure that when we walk away from this policy, that we're saying the students are in our district, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so,
So at the beginning, we need to change resident to enrolled in the school district of Beloit.
truth.
Enrolled, who is enrolled in the school district program modifications and services. So it's not just residency, it's enrollment.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Ms. Shope?
So I'm changing resident to enrolled in the school district of Beloit,
At the beginning, yep.
and then taking out attending the school district of Beloit in that other sentence. Or am I leaving that?
Read it without that. Let's see if it makes sense.
Without
please.
the attending?
Correct, without the intending.
Okay. So the school district of Beloit shall make available to any school-age parent, mother or father, who is enrolled in the school district of Beloit, program modifications and services that will enable the pupil to continue their education until the student graduates or turns 21. A school-age parent means any person under the age of 21 who is not a high school graduate and is a parent or an expectant parent. Anyone who was pregnant or had a partner who was pregnant may access services for the current school year or current calendar year, whichever is longer.
I think that does it.
I think it does it. And this is still a first reading, right? Or are we gonna move this forward?
Not even first read. It'll go to the full board.
Okay.
All right. Is there a motion to approve policy 342.71, school age parent program, to the full board for a first reading, and to retire policy 342.71, rule 2?
So moved.
Second, is there any further discussion? All right. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, we are on U, 342.8, before and after school programs. Board Member Schneider, any questions or edits?
I have nothing. Megan just states, I think this is an important language adjustment since there are increasing opportunities beyond traditional daycares to provide services to our children.
Sounds good. I just have a quick question, and I don't need an exact response now. If someone could just go back. Do we charge to use our facilities for this partnership?
Grant-wise, it's a grant. So our after-school program is a grant. The grant pays for the after-school program.
But is that for us running it, or for like the Y coming in, or other community partners who are hosting before and after school programs in our building?
So we have the CLC, I'm sorry, I've been in between conversations here. So the CLCs are a grant, and that pays for the grant coordinator. When we have partners that come in, like the Boys and Girls Club, then that's a partnership that we have with them, and then they're running the club out of our site. Is that what you're asking?
She asking, do they pay?
Yeah, but do we charge the community partners to have access to our facilities to run the program?
I'd have to look into that because it's been a long-standing relationship. I don't believe so.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think we do.
All right.
We can do that. We can add it to the to-do list to check. I don't think we do though.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So is there a motion to approve policy 342.8 to the full board for a first reading.
So moved.
Second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that motion passes unanimously. All right, so that brings us to B and W, which we will look at together. The administration is recommending that we retire policy 342.9, rule 1. So we will just focus on 342.9. Board Member Schneider, any questions or edits?
I have no questions. I like some of the changes. They sound really well. Megan also states it looks good.
All right. I just have a couple things on the second page. Under A2, it says the students enrolled in the charter. Okay, so let me just back up for context. So a charter may be revoked by the Board of Education if the board finds any of the following. Okay, and then for number 2, the students enrolled in the charter school failed to make sufficient progress towards attaining their educational goals. Since we're talking about the students and not the charter, it would be their instead of it. And then I just have a question with, excuse me, the changes on the timeline. So if we jump down to the header that says the following timetable will be used for charter school proposal, excuse me, the board will make a final decision on establishing a new charter school no later than the proposed change is February 1st. But if we go back up, and I can't find it right now, but that's the same date to notify the state superintendent. So I'm just wondering, how do we make a final decision and notify the state superintendent on the same day? Is there a reason that was changed from November to February?
I guess the way that I was reading that is that I was looking at the state statute. So the state statute is February 1st. So then I was thinking, you know, we're going to make the decision and notify the state. So I hear your point that maybe we make the decision and then we notify the state. And I was just syncing those both up, that we're making the decision by letting the state know on February 1st, which is their deadline that they put in the statute. And so that's how I came up with the February 1st date.
Is there a reason we want to, because so we would need to approve this at a board meeting, and I'm certain the board meeting wouldn't land on February 1st, so it would be at some point before that. But is there a reason we don't want that cushion to, the board needs to make a decision by November? I don't think it's prudent to put much in December with holidays and et cetera, and then let the state superintendent know by February 1st. Is there a reason we want to compress that?
No, I'm not opposed to that. I think that's a good idea. I was more just, like I said, just trying to sync things up with the state statute. I did change number 2 with November because I was trying in my mind to think about, you know, if they come to the board with an idea around it and then the board has some discussion and then it goes to board, you know, to meet and to vote on it. So that makes sense to me to move that back. Do you think it's appropriate to be January, and then that gives the next? If we vote on it in January, then we could notify the state February 1st.
So let me back up and kind of look at the whole context, because the way it was before the changes is that the board would, and I kind of wish these were in reverse order. So number 2 is petitions regarding the establishment of proposed charter school must be submitted. What it did say was between March and May, because then we have 30 days to hold,
The public hearing. Mm-hmm.
Right. So if we move that to November to receive the petition, then we have to have the public hearing and we have to post that, and then we have to come to a decision and then notify the state. It seems like we're compressing the timeline, but I'm not sure why. So let me back all the way up. Is there a reason that March and May to receive the petition is not okay, and then November instead of February is?
Sure. So I do think it's compressed. What I was trying to get beyond is spring versus fall. And maybe Dr. Garrison, you can help chime in because I'm not married to these dates either. What I was trying to envision is if you are trying to put together a concept of a charter school, if you have to have it's submitted in March and May, that's moving you back to the previous school year, that's spring, versus giving you time to work in the spring and over the summer and then bring it to the board in the fall with the idea then that you're going to the state that February. And so I was trying to, it's almost like you're gaining not another school year, but do you see how you're leaving, instead of being in the spring of that school year, now you're doing your work and submitting in the fall of the following school year? Because sometimes people come together in the spring and say, we would love to petition for this in the fall, and then they want to be able to work on it over the summer, not backdate all the way throughout the school year to get the work done.
And you guys are the experts on the ground, so I want to lean on that expertise. But I'm thinking because a charter school is totally different than making modifications to what's happening in your current building. And I would even want to go back to, you can do your work in the fall, but it's the fall before you get to the spring petition. And then that spring petition gives you plenty of time to do your hearings. And then the board, because the board might say, well, we want more information, or we want to think about this or that. I would be for making that period longer versus making it shorter, unless there's something critical that I'm missing.
So I see what we're trying to stick it within. We're trying to keep it away from a season. But first, I think we should change this order. I do think 2 should go to number 1 about the petitions.
Okay.
So petitions regarding the establishments of a
So
proposed.
really 2, 3, 1.
Correct. Well, let me. I'll order first. So 2 first. Petitions regarding the establishment of a proposed charter school must be submitted between. I see what you're saying from March to May, but we can extend that. We can say March to. We can say March to November, really, if we want to. That gives us a longer period of time, but.
But no, if we do that, then we
It's-
still have the 30 days before the hearing has to come.
Correct.
Right.
So we have to
I would-
cover. So let's say.
I
So
would
we can
want
say
that
March.
earlier, but I do want that to still be set.
So we can say March to September. We can say March to September. That gives us the time
Why
then to.
would we want it to be that long?
Well, no, it's fine because technically, if a school district is thinking about this, we know about it already anyway. They're talking to us. They're setting up meetings with us prior to even putting a petition in. They're notifying us that they want to move in, and they want to be under us. So all these things happen within years of time. So I think a March to September timeframe sounds fine, because then that gives us the time from September to November to set up public hearings and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm going to push back a little bit. I like the March to May, or maybe even March to June, if you want that to be longer, because I always want to leave extra space because you don't know what you don't know. And just like with our reconfiguration, like we had a timeline for that, but I would want to pad extra time in for any large decision that's going to involve the community, because they may bring up points that we're not thinking about, and we may need to go get additional data, or we may need to ask additional questions. So I would like to have more of a buffer than less.
Okay, so I'm fine with March to July as a compromise, and then that gives
then
us
June.
August. I know what you said.
For Member Snyder, what do you think?
I heard what you said. I said a compromise of July.
Right. My thought is, as we look at this after, during this time, there's going to be a cost to the district for this charter school. So we have to make sure we have enough time to work that into the budget as well. So I like the idea of March through, I guess, June as the time frame, so that At that point, 30 days, we can do the hearing. But we want to make sure we have enough time to really evaluate the petition and what that cost and that impact is before, as a board, we make that final decision. So I think if we're going to have a much longer period of time, it would be between that public hearing and when the board has to make a decision.
Okay.
And Dr. Garrison, so you don't lose that month. Do you want it to be February to June?
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay. So our new order will be 2, 3, 4,
and then
1.
Correct.
Is everyone on the same page with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 1 will be the order. So with number 2, it'll be February 1st to June 1st. And then the school board shall hold public hearings. That's still the 30 days. After the public hearings, the board, everything that's in 4 is fine. And then if we go back to 1, which will be our new 4, the board will make a final decision. Are we still comfortable with having that in November? Because October, we're going to have all of our budget stuff locked up. So I think if we're going to have all that we need to make a decision in November, and then there may be things that need to happen between that decision and then us notifying the state superintendent. So are we okay with November, or Dr. Garrison, do you feel strongly that we need to push that to January?
I'm fine with November. I mean, that gives us a month to make any corrections if we need to, and then it gives us a space of additional corrections for January.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want to include December if we don't have to.
Agreed.
Agreed. So we'll leave it
All right,
November.
and then, all right, so Ms. Shope will have 2, 3, 4, 1. In 2, those dates will change from February 1st to June 1st. No changes in 3 or 4. And then in 1, which is our new 4, we'll go back to that November 1st date. Miss anything?
I don't think so, and I got all that with you, so we're good.
Look at us. All right, and it's only 7:02. Is there a motion to approve policy 342.9, charter schools, to the full board for a first reading and retire policy 342.9, rule 1?
So moved.
Second, is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, last 2 of the night. X and Y. These were previously reviewed, but the importance of reviewing policies as sets. We didn't merge them when we first reviewed them, so for consistency. And then I'm not sure why, but these have new titles, and those weren't showing up like as they are listed in the agenda. And I apologize because I meant to point that out before we approved the agenda. But my recommendation, unless anyone objects, can we move the information from policy 342.10, rule 1, and include that in policy 342.10? And just a reminder that that new title is homeless education, or is, no, that is not it. Is education,
education program for students.
education
experiencing-
programs for students experiencing homelessness.
Right.
All right, I got my screen pulled up. And it does read that way on the policy, it just wasn't listed that way on the agenda. So Ms. Scho, can you just make sure that that's appropriately titled in board docs?
It is in board docs on the agenda. It was, I rolled over the report and didn't catch it from a previous meeting, so I apologize for that.
No worries.
So,
All right, so again, Board Member Schneider, this is a policy that we have recently reviewed. Let me make sure I'm on the right page. Any questions or edits for what is currently listed as 342.1?
No, I have no questions.
All right, and then the second page, same question, which is now currently 342.10 Rule 1.
The only comment I had here is on the bottom of the second page and beginning of the third page, the local education agency liaison. We had moved that to 342.10, and that should have been taken out of this policy, or Rule 1. Just that if we're going to combine the two, that we remove that duplication.
Perfect. And then the header that's currently on 342.10 Rule 1, homeless child/youth, if we can change that to child/youth experiencing homelessness. And then, like Greg said, remove those duplications. Are there any other questions or edits for what will be combined to be 342.10? All right.
Amy?
Is there a motion
Or
to
Ms. Levy?
approve
There's
policy
one question. Sorry. Mrs. Shope has a question.
So
Yes, please.
I understand where to take out the LEA stuff that was duplicated, but I missed where you said the other title needed to be changed to experiencing homelessness.
Yeah, if you open up what's currently 342.10 Rule 1, that very first header says homeless child/youth.
Okay, thank
If
you.
we can, yeah, the child/youth experiencing homelessness.
Can I just add something then? So it's got one sentence underneath that title, and then the second sentence says the term homeless child or youth. So then that should also reflect what Ms. Levy just said should be the,
New title.
thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, good catch. All right, look at us. Is there a motion to approve policy 342.10 with revisions to the full board for first reading and to retire policy 342.10 Rule 1?
So moved.
Second, is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries or passes unanimously. Let's just check in. Ms. Shope, if you can just email that out, our to-do list from this meeting, that will be much appreciated. That brings us to our next meeting date, which is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023 at 5:30. Dr. Garrison, you have something to say.
Sure. November 1st also happens to be an invitation that we received from from a banquet that I attended last year. I left the title.
You have an engagement.
It was the same engagement that I participated in last year when I came on board as a superintendent, that we had in Janesville.
Just pulling up the calendar.
That we had in Janesville. I can't think of the name of the dinner. Give me a second.
We don't need the details.
It's the NAACP Freedom. Is it the Freedom?
Freedom Fund?
Freedom Fund.
The
Thank you.
Freedom Fund
Bank.
banquet is on the 2nd.
It's on the 2nd? Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, no problem.
I'm sorry. The
Yeah,
first,
Thursday
I'm
at
sorry.
the Eclipse.
The first is
No,
I'll
good luck.
send you email on something else that's happening on the first that involves just me. My apologies.
Okay. Do you want your capable team to step in, or do you just love policy so much you can't miss it? You want to see if we can shift to the 8th?
Typically, we have our policy meeting after the regular board meeting, and the first happens to be an engagement that I booked with my son's first basketball game, college basketball game. And so,
Say no more.
yeah.
Okay. Board Member Schneider, are you available on that? Well, let's do this because we want to be respectful. We want to check in. I have no issue with moving to the 8th. Board Member Schneider, do you know if you are available on the 8th?
I am not available on the 8th. I am at a conference out of state.
Okay.
We can hold and see if.
Let's
Ms.
talk offline.
Yep.
Next meeting date to be determined. It will happen in November. We will stay on track. And just a heads up, since we are committed to reviewing policies in sets, we have some catching up to do in November, and then we left December open in case there's anything that we need to follow up on. So we're in really good shape. We will meet in November. We'll follow up, and hopefully by our regular board meeting on the 7th, we'll have that date confirmed, so we will just announce that then. All right. Anything else we need to cover before we adjourn?
I hear you coughing. Hope
All
you
right.
feel better.
Well, thank you. I'll survive. That's why I didn't come in person. I don't have COVID, but I don't want to be around somebody that's coughing, and I figured you guys didn't either. So thank you for being flexible. Board Member Schneider, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. That motion passes unanimously, and we are done at 7:10 after a very robust agenda. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.